Good evening. Hello and welcome to this 2020 annual meeting of IAF England and Wales. It's the 14th of December. Thank you all very much indeed for joining. I'm Martin Galbraith, currently chair, at least for a couple more weeks, of IAF England and Wales. It's 6 o'clock. We have an hour for this. This is not like our normal meetups, which are all very chatty and networky. This is largely about sharing a report from the board and the leadership team to all of you, our members, our network who've joined today, and any who may be watching the recording afterwards. So I'm going to pile straight in to the report, if I may. However, we'll try and get through the report as quickly as we can so that we can all get chatty and networky towards the end and have a talk about what we've shared, and in particular about what we'd like to see next year from IAF England and Wales. And it says here on the slide that we're going to start with welcome and introductions. I just did the welcome. It occurred to me actually that most of the report is going to involve introducing people. So I think we'll just go straight in and introduce people as we go, because I think there's going to be more than enough opportunity to introduce everybody. And we'll try and remember to ask at the end whether anybody hasn't been introduced yet, and we can make sure we allow time for you as well. So if we go straight into the board report, just in case anybody isn't aware, IAF is an international association in, how many countries? Do we have a member of the global board here, Gary? Maybe I could ask you to introduce yourself at this point and tell us a little bit about IAF globally.
Thanks for springing that one.
I'll give you a clue.
Thank you. So my name is, that's being looked at as well. My name's Gary Austin. I'm on the board for England and IAF England and Wales. I'm also on the IAF Global Board, currently Director of Communications, just about to come to the end of year one and about to go into year two. So we are a global association of professional facilitators, literally around the world. Thank you. In all of these different places, and circa 2,200 members, and constantly growing. I'm just checking that to check one thing. Yeah, so there's a few missing off that, actually. The immediate one I can see that is missing is we have a new chapter in IAF Europe and Middle East in Saudi Arabia. And there are some others. There's a couple of other ones that are, there's a chapter in Romania. That one's on
Argentina
there.
And Uruguay.
Argentina and Uruguay. Thank you very much, Mr. Durnford. Welcome. Yeah, and pretty much members all around the world in all regions of the world.
Thank you. So just that's enough to put us into context. We are today IAF England and Wales, and the rest of the report is about IAF England and Wales, one of about 40 odd chapters around the world. So this is the postcard that we printed 2 or 3 years ago that we used to give out in the days when we used to meet each other face to face in coffee shops and that kind of thing, which says a little bit about IAF England and Wales. It's basically, like IAF in general, about connecting facilitators, promoting facilitation and advancing professional standards, but of course focused in and on and for England and Wales in particular. Now, out of the 2,200 members worldwide, around 127 of them are IAF England and Wales members, some of them outside England and Wales, as you can see there, in Ireland in particular. And that has risen since 105 last time we did this report a year ago. So like the global membership, the chapter membership is growing. Give us a wave, please, at this point, if you're a member of IAF England and Wales. I don't know if anybody's looking at the screens, but quite a lot of us. Thank you. I shan't ask you all to introduce yourselves at this point, but quite a few of you will have a chance to introduce yourselves, because quite a few of you I know are members of the leadership team. The way we're structured in England and Wales is that we encourage and support people to volunteer in all kinds of different ways, hosting meetups in particular, but in some other ways as well. And anybody who steps up and volunteers to do anything is invited to be part of the leadership team. Where we have a space on base camp, where we organize ourselves. And there's currently around 32 of us. We established that team in March 2019. So give us a wave as well, please, if you're a member of the leadership team. Quite a few of us. Among the leadership team, some stand for election, an annual election from among the membership to be elected by the membership to the chapter board, which has the formal role of overseeing the work of the chapter and of the leadership team, and holding itself accountable to the membership and to IAF at large. And these are the board members who have been serving for 2019 and 2020. So I'm going to ask each of you, if you're here, to introduce yourselves and say hello, and maybe tell us a little bit, just maybe a one breath, how have you found being on the board, or what's been your highlights, something like that. So you'll see me there retiring this December. I've been chair for 2 years and involved very much in IAF England and Wales for 3 or 4 years before that. Let's see, Hilary, I saw you arrive. If we start top left, would you like to say a few words about yourself, Hilary?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Hilary. I'm a freelance facilitator based in Birmingham, and what do I do for IAF? I host the Midlands or Birmingham, when it's not on Zoom, meetups every month, and some learning meetups and things like that. I've helped organise conference, although really Susanna did most stuff this year. And yes, it's great being part of the board. It's all a highlight. There you go. I think the highlight that I miss is just meeting up for tea and cake, really. But, you know, it's fine. Conference was a definite highlight this year.
Thank you. And Helen.
Hello, so I'm a freelance facilitator based in Bristol. I want to say all the things that Hilary said, except swap Birmingham for Bristol. I also co-host the podcast. And yeah, other highlights. I think as a freelancer, when you work on your own, just being part of a team is really nice. So for me, it's all about, that's kind of support and stuff that you get from just working together. So yeah, and everything that Hilary said.
Thank you.
And everything that Helen said for me as well.
Gary, we've heard from you, so excuse me if I pass you over at this point, and we'll go to, is Megan here? I haven't seen Megan. Are you here, Megan? I don't think so. Steve.
She said she couldn't come.
Is Steve here? No, I'm here. Amanda? I haven't seen Amanda or Neil, but I have seen Penny.
Hi everyone, my name is Penny. I'm a freelance facilitator based in London. I will mention some different things in addition to what Helen and Hilary have said. One of the things that we did this year, which I got a lot of support with from lots of other members of the leadership team, was produce some guidelines or guardrails for buddying, so that people could do some have some structure around any peer learning that they might want to set up by kind of shadowing each other or helping out. And my goodness me, haven't we all been learning from each other this year? It's been astonishing, the amount of support that people have given each other, and I'm sure most of you will have been on the same extraordinary learning curve that I have, and I definitely couldn't have repurposed my business in the way that I have this year if it hadn't been for this community. So thank you very much to everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you, Penny. If there is anybody else on that screen who I haven't mentioned, please raise your hand and raise your voice now. I don't think I've missed anybody. Otherwise, let's hear from any members of the new IAF board who've just been elected a few weeks ago to serve for 2020. That should say 21 to 22, shouldn't it? Apologies for that. So Hilary, Helen and Gary have stood for re-election and been re-elected for another 2 years. Thank you very much indeed to them. And let's hear from Carrie if she's there. Has Carrie come? Yes, thank you.
Yes, hi, I'm here. I was a few minutes late, so apologies if I've missed the general gist of this, but I'm Carrie, I'm based in London, and I tend to work as a business consultant because not everyone knows what a facilitator is. And I've absolutely loved being involved with IAF England and Wales. Really, really pleased to be able to give a bit more time and a bit more thought and attention to helping the network grow and work with, as Helen said before, these lovely colleagues. So really looking forward to getting stuck in with the board and the rest of the leadership team.
Thank you. And Nicola, I think I saw Nicola.
Yeah, hi everybody. So very similar to Carrie. For me, it's given me a great sense of community and a chance to sort of network and connect and get support and support people. Loads of highlights. I think the best thing is the sense of fun it gives and the sense of community for me. So I look forward to continuing my involvement next year.
Thank you, Nicola. And Lee, I can see Lee's here.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, my name's Lee. I'm a facilitator. I'm based in Southampton, down on the south coast. I'm actually facilitate in a social enterprise partnership that I lead, and we work primarily in public sector and third sector organisations. So we do facilitation as a business rather than freelance, as it were, and that's one of the things that I've got involved on the board for, to represent that side of it. And yeah, just been great to be part of it. The team and everything has really impacted me in the time that I've been a member, and I really want to give back.
Thank you, Lee. And Kat, I can see here. Please go ahead.
I'm still too many mute buttons and it's chaos here. Sorry, kids running in and out. It's tea time. Didn't plan this well. So yeah, I'm freelance facilitator. I've been member of the IAF for a year. Just really enjoyed getting to know people really and being part of the community, participating in the conference. I'm learning podcasting, so getting alongside the podcast team. And yeah, just what Helen and Hilary and others have said, it's great having gone fully freelance this year to have the support of other people who are also in this space. So that sense of team has been really, really important this year.
Thank you. And Camilla, an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Great. Thank you. Can everyone hear me? My microphone's been a bit funny today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, cool, great. So didn't hear the questions, but we're going to roll with it. I'm Camilla, and I've been part of the IAF for 18 months now, 2 years. And I first joined to be part of the mentoring program. Definitely think I had the best mentor, who's also in this call. And I decided to run for the board because after the last conference, I got really interested in kind of diversity and inclusion and how we're bringing kind of younger facilitators into the space and what that looks like in terms of the next generation, and kind of realized that I couldn't just look at it and think about how we could change it, but I needed to get involved if I wanted to try and change it. So I guess that's part of why I'm here. I'm a freelance facilitator, and I work a lot with young people, and I use a lot of Lego. That's me.
Martin, should we also mention that Camilla is a 2020 Facilitation Impact Award winner?
Yes, what a good idea. Thank you. Congratulations, Camilla. Thank you. And Suzanne, our newest everyone. Inductee on the board.
Hi. Yeah, it's great to be part of this organisation. I only joined in the summer, but I was very interested to try and make a contribution. I'm not self-employed, I'm employed, and I just feel that there's so much to learn and to be up to date on, to be able to offer the people who we serve. So I'm just looking forward to learning a lot, working with people who've clearly got an awful lot of enthusiasm. And I have to say, even though I couldn't get to much of the conference, the teeny weeny bits that I did access, I wrote so many notes and got so many fantastic tips that I was blown away. So that was a highlight for me in what has been a very short membership, but thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all 9 of you for being here today. As an outgoing chair, I'm very encouraged and reassured to know that we have such a strong and responsible board to lead IAF England and Wales over the next couple of years, and having all 9 of you show up for the AGM is a really good start. So thank you. I wonder if I could ask Helen, if I may pick on you, Helen, to say a few words about the meeting the board already had to decide, or to start to decide, who'll be playing which roles next year. And you know why I'm asking you, Helen?
So yes, we did have our first meeting in November, which was we were going to discuss lots of things, but spent the most of the time discussing on who was going to do what, very carefully corralled by Gary. So the roles that we've picked, we've got Kat Duncan-Rees, who put her hand up first and said she was going to take on the treasury role. So she's the treasurer. We have Carrie is the secretary. We have Hilary, who is the vice chair, and yours truly is going to be the chair. So there we go. That's the four of us who've got names, I suppose, but it's a big team, big nice team. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you so much to all of you. So anybody else, you know who to contact if you have any queries or want to shower praise on anybody for your experience of IAF England and Wales next year. So let's go into a little bit more depth about what we've all been doing as IAF England and Wales. And this is what our meetups used to look like last year and previous years. This is the other side of the postcard that we used to give out in coffee shops. And this is 2020, how it started on the left and how it's going since then. We did actually have quite a few face-to-face meetups in the first quarter, because we used to have a lot of face-to-face meetups every quarter, every month, in fact, but they've all been online, obviously. Some of you may remember the one in the upper middle was actually a hybrid meetup, a bit of online and a bit of face-to-face, even before we had to go online. And that was a very interesting one. But what I'd like to do is talk you through the 7 meetup groups that we have, well, 5 England and Wales. The way we used to be structured is in 5 regions of England and Wales. Each would have monthly coffee meetups in 1 or more towns or cities, and a quarterly or thereabouts afternoon learning meetup for each region, and then would come together for an annual meetup that became an annual conference last year in Birmingham. And then, of course, since March, it's all gone online and it's all been a little bit different. So we're going to hear about how different it's been and also how it's been. Starting with London and the South East, which was the first of the meetup groups launched in 2013. And we've got meetup hosts here from London and Winchester and not Oxford, but also Brighton. So I wonder if anybody from London could say a word or two about what's been going on there or here. Susanna,
yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I can say that. So yeah, everything's been online and going ahead as per the schedule that we had in place. It's been really nice to have other people from different regions and different countries join us at the meetups. We're still thinking about the schedule for next year. So that calendar before where it has the dates for the London meetups, the coffee will remain the same. The other ones, the learning meetups, might shift around a little bit, but it'll all be listed on meetup. So, but yeah, no, it's been really great hosting the London meetups. And so much easier to get to the coffee mornings at 8:30 rather than having to get to King's Cross.
I thought it was very easy going to King's Cross in the morning,
Well,
but that's just
it was
me.
for you. The rest of us who don't live in King's Cross.
Lee or Carrie, would you like to say a word about yours?
I'll start. There we go. So yeah, Winchester meetup has been really good. We've had 1 or 2 people who've attended regularly, but we've also had new people each time we've met. So that has been a bit harder for consistency when we're in person. But oddly, when we moved to being online, we're now attracting and even continuing conversations from meetup to meetup. So relationally, it's been really good. And culminated in actually they attended, so a couple of them attended the conference, with one of them, even 2 of them actually even delivering sessions at the conference as well. So it's been really, really good. And yeah, it's growing. It's got some great commitment and some good stuff coming out of it. Yeah, I can't wait till we can actually meet for an actual coffee though. That bit's yeah. It started up on a night when Martin met me in a pub by the station in Winchester, and I think that's how it all began. And it's like, and pretty much since then, it's been virtual. But no, it's a lot of good fun.
Thank you, Lee. And Carrie, you've been remotely hosting the Brighton.
Yeah, I've sort of been holding the fort because Brighton only got started a year ago summer, because I remember coming along to the first one with my swimsuit underneath my clothes so I could go for a swim, which, yes, just hasn't really happened. I think, the question around there's real value in local regional things when you're meeting physically. When you're meeting online, actually, how much does that still create that sense of community, or how much do we just want to know that stuff's going on and find out about it and go to whatever we want to? In terms of Brighton, I think, again, you know, as I said, I've sort of been interim after our original host wasn't able to continue. So whether Brighton continues, whether it becomes more involved with Southeast, or whether in fact there's a change, as Susanna said, looking at how the meetups run. But it has been jolly good fun, the ones I've been along to.
Thank you. I know that there's a few of us here today on the call who are regulars at our London meetup, who've not yet had a chance to introduce yourselves. So if you would like to introduce yourself and say anything about your experience of the London meetups, or of any meetups for that matter, please do so. And I can be comfortable with silence. Or if you don't, we'll move swiftly on. Okay, so the north, who do we have from the north? We've got Kat. Would you like to say, Kat? We don't have Adrian or any of the others, do we? I don't think. Do you like to say a word about the amalgamated north?
Yeah, it is the north, and I've sadly been not that involved in the meetups online because I committed myself to a real life coffee meeting in my hometown on a Thursday morning, which is part of the Camarados movement. So I've kind of not done the meetups in the north, but yeah, they have merged since they went online. It made more sense to do that, and usually it's Adrian who does an excellent job of hosting those. But I think John's here, who's been attending some of those meetups, so he might be a better person to speak to just now.
Thank you. Yes, John, would you like to introduce yourself and say a word about your experience of the Northern meetups?
Yes, I'm John Varney, and I live in Yorkshire and run a centre up here. I do a little bit of facilitation these days, but it seems to have fallen away rather. I see that I'm in that picture there, so I must have attended a live event at some point. I think that would have been in Manchester. They were nice, the live events, but for me it was 3 hours of travelling both ways. So I much prefer the online events, and I think we're getting much better at doing them. It's great just to have a cup of coffee in your hand and chat to a few people, and they've been very stimulating, and Adrian's done a great job on running those, Adrian in particular, but they've been great, and a very welcome contact in these difficult times.
Thank you, John. Anybody else want to comment on the Northern meetups? If anybody else has attended any?
Yeah, I was living in Leeds at one point. I moved down to Leicester now, so I'm kind of a bit of nowhere, but also the virtualness has helped with joining in with conversations. I'm not a professional facilitator. I've just been, through the summer, I've been involved in a lot of different movements where it became to the point where I was accidentally facilitating calls with 10 people. And it seemed like I was a bit of, I'd been doing that sort of stuff with regards to special needs and teaching. So it kind of comes from a similar place. I've really enjoyed the meetups that I have been to. I've been to a bit of everyone's really. Sometimes I'll go to all the different ones because they're all virtual. I'll join in anything that fits the time fitting for me.
Right.
But I've always enjoyed them. There've always been some really interesting conversations. Yeah, John Varney and Kat, we've had some pretty deep and interesting conversations about a myriad of interesting subjects, and I just enjoy interesting conversations with smart, interesting people. And this has a lot of them.
Brilliant. Was somebody else about to speak then as well? Who was that?
I was about to speak, Martin. It's Karen Saunders, another Yorkshire facilitator.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I made a couple of the face-to-face ones in Leeds, but it's similar to John. It was a 3-hour journey, just over 3 hours there and back. But really enjoyed them, but have particularly enjoyed being able to take part in them when they've gone virtually and joining in with some of the other groups. That chance to just connect with other people, and I've learned so much in the really brief hour that the calls take place. That sharing of experience has just been brilliant this summer, so thank everybody who's been along to them.
Thank you, and thank you, Sandrine, for your comment in the chat. I've also enjoyed a couple of meetups in the north. Fantastic. And the southwest, Helen, Jamie, Amina and Sue. I think, Helen, you're the only one of the southwest hosts.
Yeah, no one else, just me again, sorry. So yes, they've basically been in Bristol because we did start one in Devon and the due date for that, the starting date for that was March, for obvious reasons didn't go ahead, and then it didn't really kind of gain traction. So we've kind of combined efforts really. And I think the fact it has been online has actually encouraged more people to come to the coffee meetups than probably would have done initially, because actually there aren't that many of the sort of people that are joined into the Bristol network, if you like, that are actually in Bristol. So we've got people from Wiltshire and Bath and Frome, and so it's been quite nice, to sort of keep everything going online. And it's been a sort of steady number of sort of similar groups of people. Sometimes we get new people. And we've taken a very kind of, see what happens each month. Sometimes it's stuff that pops up. Sometimes it's playing around with tools. So, yeah, it's been nice, actually.
Thank you. Is there anybody else with experience of the Southwest that would like to introduce themselves and comment? Or shall we head into the Midlands? I think
go to the Midlands.
Next. Hilary in Birmingham, Richard in Cambridge, and Steve in Nottingham have been our hosts, but Hilary, as much as anybody, would you like to say a word, Hilary?
Yes, I can. So yeah, I host the Birmingham meetup, which has turned into the Midlands meetup. And that's just a monthly coffee. It is quite informal. It's just whatever people want to bring, ideas or challenges they're facing. We all work on things together. And we've had facilitators, people who are also coaches, people doing sort of business strategy stuff as well. And we've got a really nice kind of core group, and I've unilaterally decided to move it from Friday mornings to Tuesday mornings because it fits better for me. And we now do every other month with some kind of a theme or someone primed to share something for 10 minutes that we will talk about. And then the other months are just whatever comes up. And they've been really good. And we've had a few new people join virtually. We also had regular new people join in when it was in central Birmingham. So yes, it's a lot of fun. You're all very welcome to come along to the Midlands meetups anytime.
Thank you. And excuse me to anyone from the east of England for my shorthand calling Midlands and East the Midlands. It does, of course, include the East as well. Anybody else like to say anything about Midlands and the East?
Simon's on the call, isn't he?
Simon is. Simon, you're in the, technically, I think, in the Midlands, aren't you? But on the border of the North?
Totally in the Midlands, East Midlands. But yeah, in the middle of, there's nowhere obvious to head. So it's kind of an hour and a half to Nottingham, an hour and a half to Birmingham, and so on. So I have to admit, I didn't get to the Midlands ones, but virtual has been wonderful. And I have to say, particularly when times were tough right at the beginning, meeting up with this generous community really made a big difference. So just thank you everybody for being so supportive.
Thank you, Simon. And Wales is our newest of the England Wales meetup groups, and we've got Nicola, if you'd like to say a word, please.
This is mainly Began's baby, and she's done a very good job of getting the South Wales community together with a regular sort of 8 or 9 members that come along. And then over the last year, I've got involved as there's not many people in my neck of the woods up in the north. And that's the value of being online. So we've had some good sessions where we've come along and we've played with different tools. Particularly in the early part of the lockdown, as everybody's extending their knowledge of things like digital whiteboards, trying out things. Miriam ran a sort of taster of her brilliant course on online energizers. So we've used it to allow people to practice, to share, just to get that sense of community really. And all's welcome. I know Helen pops in from time to time, but everybody is welcome to come and join us.
Thank you. And you may have noticed that there are also meetups in Scotland and Ireland, which are clearly not in England and Wales. However, they are close, and we have IAF colleagues in Scotland and Ireland who saw what was going on in England and Wales and thought to themselves, we'd like some of that. And so we welcomed them, in particular, Joyce and Robert in Scotland and Miriam in Ireland, to join our leadership team and be honorary members of our leadership team. And to use our meetup account to manage their meetup so that they didn't have to set one up on their own. And each of them have been meeting, well, Ireland has been all Dublin, apart from one in Belfast, I think. And Scotland has been mostly Edinburgh, with I think one in Glasgow. And they've been mostly every second month, I think. And I think they're still going on. They haven't, well, Miriam has done a grand job of growing numbers there, but I think they'll be, as far as I know, continuing as they are for the time being. Has anybody here been to Scotland or Ireland meetups? No?
Just to say I haven't, Martin, but my colleague Louise, who's in Edinburgh,
Oh,
she
yes.
was at Edinburgh one.
Yeah.
And she's well linked up with Joyce and co. So once things return to normal, that seems to be quite thriving, actually.
Thank you. And besides the meetups, well, besides the geographic meetups, we've been doing online meetups since February of 2019, so long before they all went online. And the idea of these was to provide an opportunity for people to meet up if they could not get to one of the local face-to-face meetups, and also to provide an opportunity for people attending face-to-face meetups all around the country to meet up with each other. So anybody who's been attending any of those, would you like to say a word about those and how you found them? Anybody we've not heard from yet?
I'll go, Martin. Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Jane.
Unusual for me to be so silent, I know. But as I can see myself right in the middle of that picture, I thought I'd better admit that I attend. It's been a lovely, I just put something in the chat too. I'd like to echo Simon's sentiment about such a generous community. And for me, very often, and I've attended the Wales and the Wales meetups and the Southeast in London, and it's just it's a really, even if you're frantic doing whatever you're doing on a daily basis, it's just a lovely anchor. The IAF is a lovely anchor where you meet people of like mind, but not always of like mind, but you always have an intelligent discussion. You do have a giggle, but everybody is very generous spirited. So it's a very warm and friendly environment. And these virtual coffee meetups have been just like that. And the breakout sessions that we've had in these meetups, interestingly enough, have not been particularly challenging. There've just been a couple of questions, just talk about how you're feeling, and it's been pitched at absolutely the right level for people, because the conversation has flowed. We'll very often last back into the main sessions, and it's just hugely successful. And I think Simon's point about being remote or being virtual, it's been a real boon, I think, and really well handled. And the energy, I must say, as a participant, the energy that the IAF have put into them is very much appreciated, I think, by everybody who attends. So thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Now then, besides all those meetups, we had a week packed full of meetup style stuff as our online conference this year, and chief conference organizer was Susanna. So let me give Susanna an opportunity first to say a few words from her perspective, and maybe as you speak, Susanna, I'll scroll through a few slides with some images.
Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, it was a really, it was a surprising conference, I think, for all of us, because we suddenly had to go online, and none of us had really done online conferences before. So, but everyone, as people have said about the meetups, it's such a generous community. And so we had some really wonderful offers of sessions from our session leaders. And it turned out to be a really amazing mix. So we had some really deep kind of technique, practical workshops. We then had, some pauses. So we had Penny's calm moment in the middle of the week. We had some really conceptual or meaningful conversations about our role as facilitators in this crisis that Kat and John were leading as well, and then also the pricing survey. So it was just a huge mix of things. And yeah, that image just a moment ago was Vic's Murder by Zoom. And from what I hear, Vic is now taking that and running with that as part of her business because it was so successful at the conference, and it was a blast, and it was just kind of that kind of tonic that you needed, something fun, but also we were learning facilitation at the same time. But I don't know if other people want to have a mention about how they found the conference, have their experience.
Please, and anybody who hasn't spoken yet, we'd love to hear from you if you had any experience of the conference. And perhaps Carrie and Gary, one of you also would like to say a word about the pricing survey. Anyone?
I'd like to say, Suzanne, it was a really good experience. I don't know how much time you had to pull it together, but it came across as really professional, but everybody was kind to each other. So if there were any glitches, everyone was kind about it. And as I said earlier, I learned so much, and I'm going to plan my time better next year so that I can get to more sessions, because I'm sure every one of them would have had something. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anybody else? We started pulling it together in January, didn't we? But then, of course, we had to start again in June, and then again, I think again, probably in September, something like that.
I know I've spoken already, Martin.
Go ahead.
But one of the things that I found so great about it was the kind of hosting of the morning coffee networking and then the evening networking at the end of the day. And in fact, there were some days when I didn't go to any formal sessions, but I did go to the morning and evening networking. And it was lovely to get a bit of cross-fertilization and meet some new people, but catch up with other people. And I think it also helped to give the event a sense of coherence and a sense of being a single event, even if you couldn't go to all of the sessions. I thought it was just a fabulous achievement, so creative, and yeah, it was brilliant. Well done, everybody.
Thank you. Gary or Carrie, would you like to say a very brief word on the survey? Carrie, please. Yeah. Oh, well, Gary, yeah.
I'll go Carrie. If Carrie was going to, that's fine.
I was just going to say, I don't really want to say anything on the pricing survey because I think it's the start of a conversation and there's loads more to do, but I absolutely loved conference and all the morning and afternoon coffees and evening activities and everything else. Gary, were you going to say something slightly more serious to the point?
Yeah, I mean, this was sent out as an infographic. It's a summary of of most of the high level information that came back about pricing. We know we've got to do a bit more dipping into the 3-sector pricing, just because we thought we had worded it the best way we possibly could, and it still got a little bit misconstrued. However, what this did do was it prompted a bit more of a global board discussion around other regions doing something similar. So the other regions will probably lift and pick what we did once we've amended the questions around the sector pricing.
Thank you.
And then hopefully we might get a bit more of a global picture.
Thank you.
And I know that the Northern group took the information, the raw data information, and looked at it from a purely facilitator in the North type perspective.
Thank you.
My best Sean Bean accent. I don't
Oh, and here's the closing selfie from the conference. And in addition, we've got 3 or 4 slides left, and then we'll make sure that there's some time for some conversation. The pricing survey is a good example of an initiative that came out of a meetup, and the podcast is another excellent example of an initiative that came out of a meetup. And it's been led particularly by Pilar, but also Helen and Kat, Nikki and Vic have joined, I think, this year. Pilar, I can see you there, but without your camera on. Are you willing to say a few words?
Of course.
Oh, good.
To talk about podcasting.
Thank you.
So, yeah, really nice. I wanted to say that Jane's bit that she recorded in the virtual coffee is coming out tomorrow, so be warned. It's been really nice to build the team, and Helen. I have to say that Helen has become a full-on podcaster in her own right. So you will see in tomorrow's episode. But it's really nice. So we're always looking for people to contribute in different ways. It doesn't have to be to take part in a whole episode. It can be sending a snippet, something that we can read out. And I really see it as an asynchronous meetup. I know it's not the same, but that's the thing we want to do with the podcast is create a shared space for learning and staying in touch with other people. So we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. And that peak in the download stats, I think, was the conference episode, the day the conference episode came out, if you can see that at the bottom of the screen there.
That's really good.
Thank you. In addition to all of that, there's two things on this slide. We've got various social media channels and, well, Twitter and Instagram, but also groups on LinkedIn and Facebook. And you can see how many people follow and are members of all of those up at the top. And also a new initiative this year, at the beginning of this year, was to invite members to form hubs if they wanted to pursue some sort of a special interest together. It's like an England and Wales version of the global special interest groups. The idea that any members say, no, IAF should do something about this, we can say, brilliant, what a good idea, form yourself a hub and go ahead and do it. And we give them a space on Basecamp, and we support them with our social media platforms and meetups and so forth. And the first one to be formed was the Climate Hub, with founding members Susanna and Penny, as well as me, Andy and Jamie. Susanna or Penny, would either of you like to say a word about that?
Yeah, I'll say a word, because we did kind of form this. The idea was born out of in January, and then we kind of formed it just as we were going into lockdown. So I think it's been a little bit fallow since then. I'm personally, and I don't know what Penny and Martin and Andy and Jamie are thinking, and the other members who have joined the Basecamp, but I'm quite interested to get back into having some conversations as we move from COVID to the next climate talks in Glasgow in November. I feel like it's a really interesting window, especially for facilitators. I mean, we're leading up to talks, and what we do as facilitators is we make talks work. We make group conversations work. So I'm interested to run another, I guess, a meetup in January to talk about, you know, what do we do as facilitators going from COVID to COP26. But I don't know if other people had some other thoughts on that.
Thank you. I see Sandrine has a question, where do we find these hubs? Thank you, Sandrine, very good question. So far, the Climate Hub is the only hub which has been founded, and as you just heard, it's not been terribly active since it was founded, but contact any one of us, myself or Susanna or Penny, about that, and we can invite you to join the hub on Basecamp. That's where it lives. Anybody interested in starting any other hub, the place to meet your tribe is on the Slack channel. There's a global IAF Slack channel where or a Slack space, I should say, where there's a channel for each of the England and Wales hubs that have been proposed. So there were several other topics proposed, including pricing and marketing was one. I don't remember all of the others, but rock up to the global Slack channel and you'll find your tribe there. And if there's enough of you want to form a hub, let us know and you'll have your own space on Basecamp to do it. I think, yes, we've got professional development, which is largely led at the global level, the global professional development pathway, and we've done what we can in England and Wales to support that. Largely, Penny was doing that, and she's mentioned already the guardrails for buddying. Do you want to say anything else, Penny, about professional development?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. So one of the really interesting things that's happened this year, which I haven't been personally involved with, but I've just been keeping an eye on as an interested person, is the first online CPF assessment, which took place just the other week in response to the pandemic and subsequent, obviously, social distancing and travel restrictions and so on. So I think that's really, really interesting, especially given that it hasn't always been possible to match supply and demand for the certified professional facilitator assessment days. So really interesting, continue to watch this space. I guess it's also worth mentioning again, the mentoring scheme where people who have got the CPF accreditation mentor other IAF members who are kind of wanting to develop their practice and get some support from another facilitator. So that continues. There's been a couple of cohorts have been through that. yeah, I think that's probably all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And marketing and partnerships. Oh, sorry, Simon, go ahead. Yes, please.
Just to say that very quickly, to add to what Penny said, I was part of the team who did the first online CPF last week, and also part of the team who developed it. And I just to sort of share that in sort of March, April time, a group of us were asked the question, would it be possible to put the CPF online? And, you know, there were a range of responses from of course to of course not. And the remarkable thing is, you know, 6 months later, we've done it with an incredible volunteer effort by an international team. So I just wanted to say that that's kind of the same spirit as we've been having in the UK, is very much sort of evidence globally. And I agree with what you're saying, Penny, about the potential of this. So just to sort of mention that, you know, that has been going along, and I think it's a really good base for the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else want to comment on professional development? I think this is the last slide. Marketing and partnerships. We've had a role in the leadership team on marketing and partnerships to mirror the global board role on marketing and partnerships, but it hasn't had a whole load of attention from us. The relationships that we do have been primarily IABC and ICA UK, both of whom help to promote our meetups as we help them to promote their events. Susanna, yes, please.
I was just going to mention that we have had a few co-produced meetups with Liberating Structures as well, and Wales did one last week, which was really fun.
That's true, we did, didn't we? Yes, there have been some joint meetups, I think, during the year. That's true. Are there any other marketing and partnership relationships that I have omitted, or anybody to add on any of that? Thank you. In which case, this will be very brief because I see we're running out of time. But the finances. Our treasurer Steve isn't here. It would be harsh, wouldn't it, to ask our new treasurer to speak to these? But I will invite Kat, if you'd like to speak. You're very welcome to. I can see her shaking her head. So very, very briefly, I can speak to these just to say that our income in last year and this year have been largely from our income and expenses have been largely through the meetups and the conference, and you can see the conference is separated from the meetups. Last year, the conference made a small surplus, which enabled us to meet face to face as a leadership team early this year to plan the year. But broadly speaking, we broke even, and our aim is to break even. Broadly speaking, we broke even on about 11 or 12,000 turnover. This year was rather different in that we took a similar amount of income on the conference, but vastly lesser expense because it was online, which means that we've got a great deal more surplus to play with next year. The original idea, or part of the original idea of charging when we did, was so that we would build a surplus that we could then use to be able to book and reserve a face-to-face residential venue for next year's conference. Whether anybody's still going to want to go to face-to-face residential conferences remains to be seen, but we do at least have the financial capacity to do that if we should choose to next year. And there's all sorts of other things that we could choose to invest some of that in. I hope the new board won't spend it all at once, is all I'll say. Anybody else want to comment on that or ask any questions about that? Which I think brings us to the Q&A session. It's 10 to 7, and I was hoping that we could have some time to chat. What I'm thinking maybe we should do is take as many questions and comments as there are in plenary first of all, and then call the meeting formally to a close. And then anybody who has time to hang out and chat in small breakout groups, we'll encourage you to do that. And what we're particularly inviting you to talk about are these things. I mean, you're free to talk about anything else you choose to, of course, but we'd particularly like to hear from you what you've appreciated most about IAF England and Wales this year, what would make it even better next year, and also what do you appreciate from other networks or groups that you've been a part of that we could learn from. and we're very keen for you to share any of those thoughts in the chat before you go. There is a plan for there to be a membership survey, as we've done not every year, but several years. Carrie, are you ready to say a word about that yet?
Well, I think I feel a bit, so myself, Gary and Camilla sort of got nobbled with this at some meeting in the last few weeks. I don't really know. But yes, I think the intention is always to make sure that as the leadership team and as the organisers, we're doing what is good for people out there, for you folks and for everyone else. So really, really keen to ask those questions. I know it's yet another survey. The previous versions have been very much, I think, based around the regional meetups and what face-to-face things people have been doing. So we'll probably give it a couple of tweaks and would aim to have that out with you before Christmas, so that we can incorporate it into whatever planning we put out in January. But as always, really keen to get as much input as possible, and definitely very honest and open feedback, particularly if there are things that other people are doing well that we can steal with pride. And also if there are things that have made it more difficult for you to engage this year, please just let us know, because it's never intentional, but if we don't know about it, then we can't fix it. So thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Anybody else then that would like to share any reflections, any questions, or anything else you'd like to share? I know that Jane just asked in the chat if you could share something. Please go ahead, Jane.
Well, again, inspired by this group of people, I have the dubious honour, as anyone will know on this call, of being the World Conference Chair for IABC in 2021, which was going to be in New York, but now is virtual. And tomorrow we will be issuing the call for speakers, and our theme this year, which we decided on only about 3 weeks ago after months of going round in various directions, we have settled on It's About Time, because we feel that that's a great platform for, it's about time for inspiration, it's about time for clarity, it's about time for understanding, wisdom and ingenuity. It allows us a platform to create this narrative. But all of the things that we've all been going through together and that you've been talking about with IAF, I think are fantastic candidates for that theme. So do look out for it. I'll post it on an IAF site so that you can see, but it would be great to see some of you as speakers at next year's conference, because I know that participants would really benefit from it. And of course, you're all the expertise at virtual. It'd be fantastic to have you involved.
Thank you. There's a partnership opportunity. Anyone else? Anybody who's not introduced themselves yet? Now's your chance. Or any other questions or reflections?
Can I just say something then?
Please.
I don't know how relevant it is, but it is about the year ahead, and building on what Kat and I did at the conference. It's going to be a year of momentous change. People are under incredible pressure all over the place, and we haven't seen the half of it yet, I don't think. So facilitation is hugely important. People are going to be desperately needing facilitation, even though they don't realize that's what will help them. So I think that somehow we can talk ourselves up. I don't mean just in a commercial sense, but I mean, our country needs us right now. We should step forward boldly and somehow make connections. I think that would be a really great thing to build on your theme for the year ahead.
Thank you. Absolutely. Anyone else? Last chance. Gary, please.
Susanna's hand went up quicker than mine.
I was just going very, very quickly. I would love to have more of those conversations that John and Kat ran throughout the year. I think they were so rich and valuable as well.
Thank you. Gary?
Yeah, so we had a global board meeting today. It's our monthly meeting, and just kind of put a heads up is that in January, when we normally have our face-to-face, we're going to go online, obs, because we ain't going nowhere. But that is going to be a much more member-wide, inclusive and participative process than it has been before. So I would just say watch this space for being able to be involved in the global strategic retreat come January.
Thank you. Thank you. We're very, very nearly out of time. I want to do a selfie, if I may, because it's customary to do a selfie at these things. But before we do that, Helen?
Before we do that, Helen.
Yeah, no, I just want to get this in now in case everybody disappears. And that's to, I know kind of clapping and stuff's pretty tricky on Zoom, but I wanted to see if we get everybody to give Martin an amazing cheer, clap. Thank you for being such an incredible chair and just being amazing and getting the community and everybody together. And making IAF England Wales. I'm the only one you can hear.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Well,
Martin.
In that case, let me just say I'm not going to be a stranger. I'm not going to disappear. I'm still going to be a member of IAF England and Wales, and I very much look forward to participating still. But I am really going to miss being part of the leadership team. But, you know, all good things come to an end, and I'm so excited and so proud of what we've all achieved together over the last years. Anybody who came to those first monthly meetups we had in London in the early days, boy, have we come a long way since then. So thank you all. It's really been quite a ride. And that's all.
He's got no words. We also shouldn't forget Steve as well. We need to give, he's not here,
Absolutely.
But we need to give Steve a massive hand as well.
As our treasurer, yes, he's been an enormous help. Thank you so much. And may we have a quick selfie, please, before we go? Look your best self and smile, and feel free to take one yourselves, a screenshot. 3, 2, 1. Cheers. Yeah. Thank you. So I shall draw this to a close, stop the recording, and then please do stay if you can.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Happy 2020.
Merry Christmas.
Merry